Hi everyone, welcome. First of all, I would like to thank each one of you for joining us today for this session on ALM for Power Platform Zero to Hero. Yeah, big thank you as well as to the organizers and sponsors of the New Zealand Business Application Summit 2024 for making this event possible. My name is Dharanidharan Balasubramaniam. People call me Dharani, and I'm so thrilled and excited to be here virtually to walk you through the essentials of application lifecycle management, especially tailored for the Power Platform. Throughout the session, we will move from the basics of ALM and build up to some advanced practices, including setting up CI/CD pipelines and a live demo to help bring these concepts to life. ALM may seem complex at first, but with the right tool and practices, it becomes an essential part of maintaining the quality and the agility in the Power Platform solution. So I encourage everyone to ask questions along the way. Feel free to drop them in the chat, and I will address as many as I can at the end. With that, let's dive into the session. So now, before we dive into the session, I would like to quickly introduce myself. So you know a bit more about who's speaking today. My name is Dharani, and I'm working as a senior manager with Capgemini Australia, where I lead the various projects with the Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform space. I'm honored to be recognized as a Microsoft MVP in business applications area, which allows me to stay closely connected with the latest advancements in the Microsoft ecosystem. In addition, I'm actively involved as a community leader and speaker and regularly sharing the knowledge at the user groups and the industry events. I'm also Microsoft Learn Experts, where I contribute to helping learners build their skills and navigate the Microsoft landscape. My passion lies in both building the effective solution and in sharing the journey with the broader community, helping others adapt the best practices and also get most out of the Power Platform. So thank you once again, everyone, for joining today. So let's get deep dive into the ALM core concepts. All right, let's take a quick look at what we'll be covering in this session. So here's our quick agenda for next 1 hour. First, we'll start with the basics. What is ALM and why it is essential for any Power Platform project. Next, we will deep dive into core concepts of ALM, where I will explain the key aspects like solution, source control, and the environment strategy. Then I will introduce the Power Platform builder tools for Azure DevOps, which will help us to automate and streamline the ALM task. After that, we'll go through the environment strategy and the governance best practices, helping ensure that the solution remains secure, efficient, and more reliable. And we'll also discuss source control with the tools like GitHub and Azure DevOps, essential for the team collaboration and the version tracking. Then comes the exciting part, the hands-on demo, building and CI/CD pipeline using the Power Platform builder tools. Finally, we will wrap up with the best practices for ALM in the Power Platform, and I will open it for the question and answers. So we have a lot to cover today, so I will keep things moving quickly while also pausing for any questions along the way. Let's jump in and start with the core concepts of ALM. To get us all on the same page, let's start with what we mean by ALM or application lifecycle management. ALM is essential and framework that guides how we manage the entire life cycle of a project from the very starting stage, the development through testing and the deployment, and all the way to the maintenance and the updates. In the Power Platform, ALM is particularly valuable because of how dynamic the solutions are. With the ALM in place, we have a structured way to manage all our components, whether it is an app, workflow, or a data integration, in a way that makes the collaboration between the team members much smoother. Another huge benefit of ALM is that it helps enforce the quality control by having a clearly defined processes. We can test thoroughly and make sure everything is consistently deployed across other environments without any last minute surprises. This leads to more efficient workflows, less room for error, and easier scalability as our needs grow. So simply, if you put ALM is like a roadmap for building, deploying, and maintaining the Power Platform application efficiently and reliably. With a good ALM process in place, you are setting up yourself up for a solution that's a high quality, manageable, and um, scalable over a period of time. Now let's look at the core components of ALM in the Power Platform. These are all the building blocks that makes an ALM strategy very effective and also scalable. First, we have the solutions. Solutions are nothing but it acts as a containers for all of your Power Platform components. Things like tables, apps, flows, plugin. They allow you to bundle everything into one package, making it easy to move from one environment to other environment. Solution helps us keep the components organized and make sure we are deploying only what is needed. So next up is source control. In an ALM strategy, source control is non-negotiable. With the tools like GitHub or Azure DevOps, we can track every change version by version, making it easy to see who has made those changes, and you can review the history and even roll back if it is needed. Source control is especially helpful in a collaborative projects, ensuring all the team members are working from the same baseline. Then there is the environment strategy. Typically, we separate environments into development, testing, and production. This strategy helps us to manage changes without impacting the live users. For example, the development work happens in the dev environment where it is safe to experiment. Once these things are tested in the sit environment, and then we will promote it to UAT where the business users they will test and they will make sure like everything is working as expected. They we move this to production. This separation allows for the controlled and also an organized way to test and release the updates. And finally, the CI/CD, the continuous integration, the continuous deployment. The CI/CD pipelines or where the magic happens. They let us automate process like solution exports, validation, deployments. Rather than doing all those things manually, the CI/CD tool handle them for us by saving a time and also by reducing errors. Plus, this pipelines allows us to keep the updates flowing smoothly from dev to test, test to UAT, and then to production environment. These components, the solution, source control, environment strategy, and the CI/CD together form the foundation of ALM in the Power Platform, making it easier to maintain, scale, and collaborate on our solutions. Now let's talk about the Power Platform build tools. So these tools are set of a task available within the Azure DevOps that are specifically designed to support the Dynamics 365 customer engagement and the Power Platform. They allow us to automate and streamline key ALM process, saving a time and reducing the potential for human error during the deployments. Some of the main the DevOps task provided by the Power Platform build tools include the solution import and export. So this allows us to automatically export a solution from one environment and import into another environment. This is essential for moving the work from the development to an testing or to a production environment. Next, we have the solution pack and unpack. With this feature, we can break down our solutions into individual components, making it easier to manage them in the source control systems like the GitHub in Azure DevOps. It is really easy to maintain the unpacked version. So this is the very key for tracking the changes and collaborating within the teams. And then we do have the package deployer. So this tool helps us to deploy the complex solutions that may involve multiple components, configurations, or dependencies. It is especially useful for managing the larger deployments. And then we do have the solution checker. This task runs a health check on our solution, identifying any potential issues or the best practices are being met. It ensures our solution met the Microsoft standards, and also it reduces the chance of error in the production environment and manage environments. So this feature allows us to control the setup and configuration of your environments, making sure they are ready for each stage in development lifecycle. And then with this Power Platform Builder tools, you can efficiently migrate the Power Pages and also the master data from one environment to other environment. For those who are working with the Power Pages or handling the master data, this build tools offer a good support for managing these components as part of this ALM process. So these tasks help us to enforce the best practices and also to maintain the consistency across all the environments, making the deployments faster, reliable, and also easier to manage. We'll see some of this task in our action in our upcoming demo, where I will set up a CI/CD pipeline with this Power Platform Builder tools. Now let's take some moment and we'll speak about the environment strategy and the governance, which plays a very crucial role in managing the lifecycle of a solutions in the Power Platform. A well-defined environment strategy ensures that our development, testing, and the production activities are well organized and separated, reduce the risk of unexpected last minute issues impacting the end users. Let's start with the environment types. So typically in our Power Platform environment, we have a default environment where we should not touch anything over there, because this default environment, all the users in the tenant will be having an access to it. So we should not make any customization or the configuration changes in the default environment. Next, we do have the development environment. This is where our developers build and test the new features, ensuring they are working as expected before moving forward to the test environment. Testing environment or the QA environment, this environment allows the testers to validate the changes, perform through the testing and catch any issues before it reaches to the UAT environment. And UAT environment is the environment where the business users will validate all the acceptance criteria are working as expected, and they will make sure like everything is working as per the user story. And if they give an sign off, then all those changes will move to the production environment. Production is our live environment.
Sorry, I don't understand.
The production environment is our live environment where the final solution is used by the end users. It is crucial that only stable and fully tested changes should get into the production environment. Now let's look at the key elements of an effective environment strategy. The first and foremost thing, the isolation of the environment is essential by keeping the development, testing, UAT, production environment separate, so we can make changes and test the new features without impacting the end users. Next, the data security is another critical factor. We must ensure that the sensitive data is not unsuccessfully exposed in non-production environments. That's the one key thing. And the next is the consistency across the environments, ensuring that configurations are consistent, help us avoid issues during the deployment and making the transitions very smooth. In addition to the environment setup, we need solid governance policies. This include access control. So defining who has permission to create, modify, or delete the environments helps protect sensitive data and ensure environments are not alerted unintentionally. Then the naming convention, consistent naming convention, making it easy to identify and manage the different environments, especially in the complex setups. Then environment lifecycle management, establishing a guidelines for creating, updating, and decommissioning environments allow us to keep the environments relevant and manageable over the time. Finally, here are some of the best practices I would like to discuss with you guys before getting into the other topic. One is we need to conduct the regular audits to ensure all the environments are being used effectively and securely. Then we need to automate the deployments between the environments wherever it is possible to maintain the consistency and reduce the minimal error. We need to do this automated deployments, and clearly we need to establish the roles and responsibilities so everyone knows who is responsible for which environment, or who, if all the stakeholders knows the roles and responsibilities well defined, then it is a really easy in this ALM process. By implementing these strategies and the governance policies, we can ensure that our environments are secure, reliable, and it is very optimized for smooth solution deployment and maintenance. This structured approach minimize the errors and it will enhance the stability of our solution across all the Power Platform environments. So yeah, so this is the best practices which I have already spoke about. So now let's move on to the importance of the source control in the ALM. And now we can see like how we can use the tools like GitHub and the Azure repos to manage our solutions. Source control is essential for the tracking the changes, collaborating with the team members, and maintaining a reliable history of our work, which makes it easy to roll back to a previous version if something went wrong. Now let's start with the key features offered by the GitHub and the Azure repos. First and foremost is the branching. Branching allows us to organize the work by separating the development on features, bug fixes, or releases. This helps us avoid the conflicts as a different team members can work on different branches simultaneously. So if multiple user stories are there in a particular sprint, then all those user stories can be assigned to different developers, and different developers can take the main branch as a baseline, and they can start creating their feature branch, and they can start working on the feature branch. And once everything is done, they can commit to a feature branch, and they can create a pull request, and they can assign it to the master branch. Then reviewers can review the code and they can approve it so that the code will get merged into the master branch. And we will use that master branch for our deployments in our CI/CD pipeline. So branching is very key here. And next we have the pull request. So that also, which I have explained, and we will have the commit history. Every change made in the source control is logged, including the person who has made the particular change. So this gives us a clear history of all the modification, and also it allows us to easily trace back if any issues arises later. And next is the integration with the DevOps pipelines. Sorry. GitHub and Azure repos integrate seamlessly with the Azure DevOps, allowing us to automate the build and deployment task. So changes are automatically deployed to different environments whenever they are ready. Now let's talk about some of the best practices for using the source control effectively in the Power Platform. First and foremost, we need to adopt the branching strategy that works for our team. A common strategy includes a main branch for a production, a develop branch for in-progress work, and feature branch for the individual task. This work in a way like we can keep it in an organized, and also we can reduce the risk of conflicts during the deployments. And we need to commit the changes very frequently and use the descriptive commit message to make it clear what each change does. So this helps when looking back to understand the purpose of each update. Regularly merge and test to avoid the conflicts. By frequently merging the branches, especially for the shared components, we minimize the risk of major conflicts that can delay the deployment. And last is the unpack solution for more granular tracking. So in the Power Platform, unpacking the solution means the breaking them into an individual components, so allowing us to track the changes at a finer level. So some common use case for source control include collaborative development, so manage version for the releases, and tracking the changes to roll back if needed. For example, if a bug is introduced in a recent update, having a history of changes allow us to identify the root cause and revert if necessary. By using a source control with GitHub or Azure repos, we enable effective team collaboration, version tracking, and consistent quality in our Power Platform solution. So this setup becomes the backbone for our ALM process, supporting everything from development to the deployment. So before getting into the demo, let me quickly explain how it works. So all the configuration and the customization will be done in the source environment. Whenever the developer is assigned with the user story, he will go to the Azure DevOps and he will start creating his own branch, feature branch from the master branch, and he will start working on the changes in his branch. But all the customization and the configuration changes, he will start doing it in the source environment. So here the developer, he will configure everything and he will do it. And then we do have the automated pipeline. So that will connect to the source environment and it will export the solution and it will unpack and it will check in the components into the Azure DevOps. So this, as soon as this is done, then automatically our pipeline will build and it will pack the solution. It will pack the solution with the latest mapping.xml file. If any of the web resources or if any of the plugin assemblies or the workflows assemblies needs to be referred, so all those information will be there in the mapping.xml file. So it will look into the mapping.xml file and it will pack the solution and it will push it to an artifacts. So it will be there in the artifacts. So once the build gets succeeded, then the release definition will trigger automatically and it will start picking the solution from the Azure artifacts, the Azure repos artifacts, and it will start deploying the solution into an QA environment. And here the testers are responsible, where they will go and test all the user stories against they will create the test case for all the user stories and they will test it and they will make sure like all the acceptance criteria are covered in that particular user story. And once everything looks fine, then we can go to the same release definition and we can promote the same solution to the UAT environment. And while doing this, if you want to keep the product owner as approver to the UAT environment, in the release definition, you are having the approvers option as well. So you can go and configure the approvers over there. So based on the approver, like as soon as the release gets triggered to this particular environment, it will send out an email to the approver. The approver needs to approve that particular the request. Then once it gets approved, then the solution will get promoted to the UAT environment, where the business users will validate all the test cases against the user story. They make sure like everything is fine, and then the same release definition will trigger it to the production environment, which will successfully promote the solution to the production environment. So now let's quickly get into a demo. So let me start with this. So here is my Azure DevOps. So here I do have like multiple projects, and this is the project which I have created for our today's event, the New Zealand BizApp Summit. So another organization, so you can maintain a multiple projects. So this is one of the project which I'm maintaining here. And if you go here, I will quickly give the quick glance of this Azure DevOps. So here in the overview, like we have a summary, dashboards, and wiki. So this will give you the overall summary of the project. The dashboard, you can build a number of reports and you can put it into one dashboard. So the management can view the dashboards and so they can get a clear view of how the project status is looking. And wiki, like if you want to maintain all the documentation of your project, you can maintain all those things in a wiki. And we have a ports where we will maintain all the work items, epics, features like user story, epics features, all those things will manage it under the work items. And then with the sprints, you can maintain all the sprints, queries. So all those things, it will comes under the boards. Next, this is the main thing, the repos. So for our today's demo, so I have created So two solutions. So the two branches. First, let's start with the branches. So if you see here, so you can see the two branches which I have created here, the master branch and the release branch. So this is going to be a release branch. Whenever the release is going to a test environment, then that time from the release branch, we will merge it into a master branch. Then the developer, each and every time the developer will pick it from the master branch and they will create their own feature branch and they will work on it, and once their work is done, they will merge it into one master branch. The final release will merge the complete changes into one master branch. So on pull request, pull request also I will quickly speak. Like once the developer completes this activity, so he will go ahead and create the pull request from here. So here he will get an option to select from which branch to which branch and what all the files and what all the commits. So all those things they will be able to see here, and they can create a pull request and they can add a reviewers, and whomever is the technical lead or the solution architect, he can add it and he can assign this particular pull request to them. So they can review this, complete all the files, and whatever the comment you have added, they will go on through it and they will review this. Once if everything is fine, and if they make sure like everything is fine, then they will click on the approve button here, and I will create it quickly. They will click on the approve button. So once the approve button is clicked, then automatically this code will get merged into the master branch. So you can see here. So this is how the pull request gets created. So here you will get an option to go and review all those things. So once everything is fine, the approver will approve this. As soon as they click on the approve button, all the code, whatever the changes are there in the release branch, will get merged into one master branch. So if I click on approve now and complete, so this will get merged over there. So you can see under the completed one. Yeah. And next we do have the pipelines, and so here is the place like where we are going to today, like we'll be building our pipelines here. So I will quickly open this pipeline and I will quickly show you. So these are the build pipelines.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
So this is my build one, and I do have the release as well, so which is also configured here. So you can see here. So as I mentioned, so here multiple environments I have created. So each environment I have configured different stages, and I have configured the approver as well. So let's deep dive into the pipeline. So before getting into the pipeline, so let's quickly see the solutions first. So let me quickly go to the Power Platform environment. Okay, so I have two environments now for today's demo. Like I will take this Dharanidharan Balasubramaniam 1 as my dev environment, and the Dharanidharan Balasubramaniam 2 as my test environment today. So in the dev environment, I have created a solution called NZBAS core solution. And here I have added all the components. So whenever the developer is working on the user story, once the customization and the configuration is done, so he or she will go and add all the required components over here. So as of now, like for today's demo, I just added one app and the sitemap into this particular solution. So that's the only component is here. And here, so you can see before start doing the deployment, here you have an option for the solution checker. So you can run this manually. The developer can run this manually to make sure like whether they are following the Microsoft standards or not. So if they're not doing it, then still you can hook this inside your the CI/CD pipeline, and you can make sure like in the pipeline, like we can make sure like everyone is maintaining the Microsoft standards or not. So if they are not maintaining, and we can enforce it by like if errors are there, then you can fail the particular commit, and you can inform the developer saying that we are not following the Microsoft standards. So just go through the solution checker view results and fix this results, and then commit back again. So, and also like in the Dynamics 365, you see like if you are working on any of the web resources or the plugins, and if you want to hook any check marks or Sonar Cube or like any Style Cop or FX Cop, if you want to do, you can hook anything in your the Azure DevOps pipeline to manage the organization standards, because each and every organization will have their own standard. So in order to maintain the standards, you can hook all those things in your Azure DevOps pipeline, and you can put a benchmark there, like if it is this percentage, then only you allow the people to commit it, or else you force the people by rejecting the commit. You can build the pipeline and you can reject the commit. So that is also possible. Okay, so this is the solution. So this is the environment which I will be using it. Now let's go back to the pipeline and we'll see how we have configured the pipeline. So now, okay, before getting into the pipeline, now first we need to install, after creating a project, first we need to install the Power Platform build tools. The Power Platform build tools will be available in the Azure DevOps Marketplace. So if you go to the marketplace.visualstudio.com, so here you can see this Power Platform build tools. You need to install this. The Microsoft is giving this build tools to automate the common build and the deployment task. So it is having a good number of the task inside this build tools. We can leverage all those things and we can automate the complete ALM process for the Dynamics or the Power Platform projects. So if you click on get free, then it will ask you to select the organization, and if you select the right organization, and then it will go ahead and install the Power Platform build tools in your Azure DevOps environment. So once that is done, we have seen the solution as well. Now let's deep dive into the pipelines. So how I have created the pipeline is, so see in this pipeline, like first if you want to leverage this Power Platform build tools, first you need to add a task for the Power Platform tool installer. Once this Power Platform build tool is installed, then if you go and click on this button, and if you just type Power Platform, and you will be able to see all the tasks associated with this Power Platform build tools. See, these are all the tasks associated with the Power Platform build tools. So lots and lots of tasks there. So you can leverage based on your requirement, based on how you want to automate this CI/CD process. So based on your requirement, you can go ahead and you can configure this. So first and foremost step is the Power Platform build tools, which you need to install. Then once this is done, I'm just checking this with the testing the connection to make sure like the connection is fine. So okay, now let's come to the connection part. Like see the connection, the two ways you can establish. One is using the username and the password, and the other one is using the application user. So you can have the app registration in the Azure, and you can have your own or the client ID and the client secret, and with that also you can establish a connection. That is the most secured way. But for today's demo, I'm just going with the generic option, the generic connection. The Microsoft is strongly recommending recommend to use the application users where we're authenticating via the client ID and the client secret. That is the most secure and the safest way. And you can maintain all the client ID and the client secrets in the variables. And even if you want to maintain this in an Azure Key Vault, and if you want to read it from the Azure Key Vault, that is also possible with this pipelines. So for today's demo, I just kept this in as a generic connection. So you can see here, if you come to the generic connection where I'm maintaining all the connections here. For safety reason, I'm just not opening this because it will display my username and the password. So I'm not opening that. So this is for testing the connection. Once the connection is tested in this particular environment, then I'm publishing all the customization to make sure all the customizations are getting reflected. Then we need to export the solution. So once the publish is done, then I'm going and exporting the core solution from the development environment. So in the development environment, as I mentioned earlier, I have created one core solution and where I have added all my customization changes. So this I'm exporting here. and I'm unpacking it. So as I mentioned earlier, like in order to track the changes, we need to unpack the complete solution into one each and every component wise, and then we need to store it in the Azure DevOps so that it would be later point of stage if something went wrong, or if you want to roll back, or if you want to see something, and if you want to identify something from the major issues and all, then unpacking and storing the solution is the wise option, so that easily we can go and track the changes as part of which commit this the problem has occurred. So all those things easily will be able to uh, do it. And yeah, I'm unpacking it. And here I'm packing the solution again. So I support the manager and the unmanaged solutions, and I'm committing all the changes to one Git repos, and I'm publishing the artifacts. Here, I was testing some of the things, so that's the reason I have disabled it. Even if you have a portal, the Power Pages project, and if you want to um, hook the if you want to automate the Power Pages deployment, then we do have a component to download the Power Pages portal. So using this, you will be able to download it. And currently I have disabled this one, but this also, like, it will ask you to provide the service connection, then environment variable, the download path, and what all the entities you want to exclude, and if you pass the ID of the website. If you go to the Power Pages management, there you will get the ID of the website, and you can pass this, and this will download the Power Pages content, and it will give it to you. And similarly, if you have a master data, which every time, like if you want to keep your environments sync between all the environments, then that also, like using the configuration migration tool, so you can go ahead and generate the schema.xml file whenever the developer is creating any new master data, or if they're changing any values, then it's their responsibility to go and generate the latest schema.xml file, and they need to come and commit it into the Azure DevOps repository. Once, as soon as they commit it, then our pipeline, this will go ahead and this will export the latest master data from the development environment. So this will take the schema file as an input, and it will go and it will download the latest file. And once it gets downloaded, then I'm committing those into the Azure, the DevOps. In the branch, I'm committing all those unpacked versions, so that later point of time, if something went wrong, then I'll be easily able to track it. Once all those things are completely run, then I'm pushing all my artifacts into drop folder. And so I'm keeping the artifact name as a drop, and I'm putting all those files into an artifacts and keeping it as a drop, and I'm publishing this one. So once this gets successfully executed, then the release pipeline will trigger. So release pipeline. So here you can see. So what all the stages, if you are having a multiple environments like SIT, UAT, pre-prod, and the production. So you can create a multiple stages here, and you can see here. And click on the edit option, and if you go here, like this is the artifacts. This is our build artifacts. So based on this build artifacts, and even if you would like to schedule this one, so that is also possible. So you can go ahead and schedule it. Even build also the same way. Like you can schedule it, like whenever the commit happened to that particular branch, you can trigger it, or if you want to schedule it at a particular period of time, then that is also possible. So that is also possible in the build definition. So here for the release, you can configure this, or if you don't want to schedule it, whenever the build is ready, then if you want to trigger it, then you can stop this option, and you can go here, and here you can select this one, actually enable, see, create a release every time as a new build is available. Whenever the build gets succeeded, whenever the new build is available, then this will start triggering, and it will start deploying the things into the target environment. So here we do have the multiple environments, SIT, UAT, pre-prod, and the production. So here I have configured the approver as well. As I mentioned previously, like if you would like to set up any of the approvers for any as a gatekeeper, then that is also possible. So you can come and give those approvers. Whenever the build gets triggered, the approval email will go to them. Then it will, once they approve, then based on that, the action will happen. So here you can see here in the release pipeline, I've added some 3 simple tasks. One is the Power Platform tool installer, and I'm just checking the connection. And once the connection is tested, and then I'm importing the solution into an SIT environment. Here, while importing the solution, so here you need to give the service connection and the environment URL. So all those things I'm just maintaining all those values in the variables here. What is the solution name and what is the environment? I do have a different environments. So all this you can maintain in the variables here, and you can leverage all those things here. So one is that, or you can go and create your variable groups. That is also possible. So you can create each and every environment, like you can create your own variable groups and you can link it to the pipeline. So that is also possible. So here I would like to speak on few of the important points here. So one is like you can import the solution as an asynchronous process. Now if you expand this advanced option, so while manually importing the solution, what all the options are there, so all those options will get it here as well. Like you can stage an upgrade, or you can import as a holding solution, or if you are importing a managed solution and if you want to override the unmanaged customization, that is also possible. And after importing a solution, all the plugins will be in a deactivated state, so mostly like sometimes. So if you want to activate it, then after the deployment you just make sure like you are clicking on this checkbox. So once this the solution gets deployed, then it will go and automatically activate all those plugins. And if you want to import as a managed solution, that is also fine. After importing a solution, if you want to publish the customization changes, and that is also possible by ticking this tick box. So since this option I have ticked it, that's the reason I have not added a separate component for publishing the customization. So this is with respect to the build and the release pipeline. So I will quickly go ahead and trigger and I'll show you. So it will take some time. So in the interest of time, just go to the already executed one and then we can see. Yeah, so you can see, so all those things it has executed. Yeah, the green you can see here. So the Power Platform tool installer, so all those things it will get executed. And it has successfully exported the solution, unpacked, packaged the managed solution, the commit, everything is successful. So in the commit also, like all those has been committed. So if you go back to the repos, and so here is how we are maintaining the project here. So as I mentioned earlier, like here we are maintaining the 2 branches, the release and the master branch. And if you go to the release branch, so over here like we are maintaining the deployment files. And if you come to the solution, here we are maintaining all our managed and unmanaged solution. If you expand the managed solution, we can see the zip file here. And if you expand the unmanaged solution, then you can see the solution file and all the unpacked versions you will be able to see here. And if you go to the history, then you can see like this has been committed as part of which deployment and who has committed this particular change. So all those things we'll be able to find it from this commit history. Okay, now I think this will take some time to execute. And similarly, like the release pipeline got triggered and it has failed for some reason. Yeah, some authentication error it has given, but I have resolved it. But let's see. Once the build gets succeeded, then automatically the release will trigger, and this will promote the solutions into the target environment. And we'll quickly go to the target environment and we'll see. Yeah. Okay, let this happen. In the meanwhile, like we will go back and we'll quickly see We'll continue with the PPT and then we'll come back here. So the demo, like we have seen how we have done the Azure DevOps setup, and then we saw like how to install the Power Platform build tools, and we also spoke about the Power Platform environments, and then the creating the solution and adding components, and then creating and the building the release pipelines. So to wrap up, here are some essential ALM best practices. So environment strategy, keep the separate dev, test, UAT and production environments so that we can avoid using the production data in the non-production environments, and also we can avoid the last minute surprises during the deployments. And source control, commit regularly with a descriptive message and follow a branching strategy to avoid the conflicts, and use the Power Platform build tools to streamline their deployment across the environments so that it will reduce the manual work. And solution checker, you can run the solution checker to catch the issues early, and also you can improve the solution quality as well. And regular checkup, review the solutions to remove the unused components and follow clear naming conventions while creating the components inside the solutions. And the roles and the access control, so we can limit the access based on the roles and establish the governance to maintain the security and the consistency. This ALM best practices ensure smoother, safer and more reliable ALM process, helping us deliver high quality solution. So in summary, so ALM and Power Platform relies on a clear environment strategy, consistent use of source control, then automation with the CI/CD, regular solution check, cleanup, and then strong governance. By following all these above points, all these best practices, we create a reliable, efficient process that can maintain the solution quality as well as the security. So yeah, that's all for today. Like thanks everyone for joining. I hope this insights help to streamline your ALM journey. So if you have any questions, then I'm happy to address the questions in the chat.
There's no question in the comments so far, but Paul Davy is typing. Oh yeah, he's saying thank you. That was great session. Yeah, I also find it really useful. Like I learned a couple of tips or two, even though I've been working with that for a few projects. And yeah, it is really good. Abby Kongs also says, thanks, Dharani. It's really helpful.
Thanks, Abby. So if you guys if you would like to connect with me, please feel free to connect with me in LinkedIn. And if you have any questions, yeah, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to help. Thank you so much once again for joining. And I hope like you guys gained some valuable insights and practical tips to bring back to your own projects. And I also like to extend a final thank you to all the wonderful organizers and sponsors for bringing this summit to life and their continuous support in connecting our community. And I hope you feel empowered to make ALM an essential part of your Power Platform project now. So yeah, please feel free to reach out like if you have any questions. Thank you once again and enjoy the rest of the summit.